Okay, y'all, it has been a while. Your girl has been moving and grooving, okay? Let's get into today's topic. Today's topic, we are going to be, I need to get my hair done, don't judge me. Okay, today's topic is going to be about how to heal from betrayal. Now, I personally have experienced tons of betrayal, from parents to siblings to friendships to relationships. And later down the line, I'll get into details on the specifics of all of that, but we're not here for me, we're here for you, okay? So, healing from betrayal is essentially it's a lot of grief work, and it is a lot of self-trust work. What are you grieving from? You're grieving from the loss of a friendship, a companion, or so on and so forth. And you're learning how to trust yourself again, right? Because oftentimes when someone betrays us, we start looking at ways where we messed up. Like, what didn't I see? Where were the red flags? And then once we start questioning our own actions, we begin to trust ourselves less, right? After we've been betrayed. So, what we need to realize about healing from betrayal is that it's not just getting over it, it's also about rebuilding, right? It's about rebuilding, and it's about learning how to feel safe again, safe enough to trust yourself, safe enough to know that you won't be fooled again, and safe enough to know that you won't be disrespected again, right? So healing from betrayal is grief work and it's self-trust work, okay? So step number one, you gotta let yourself feel the whole truth. And as y'all know, I keep my notes on deck, okay? So if I keep looking down, it's because I'm trying to get everything, okay? Bear with me, don't worry about that. Worry about the message that I'm getting to you, okay? We're healing, okay? So, you need to let yourself feel the whole truth without rushing it. When I was, I wanna say 12 years old, my mom told me that my dad wasn't my dad, and essentially that I was like adopted. And I was like confused. It took me years to recover from that, okay? Not only did she say that my dad wasn't my dad, she told me that my real dad was in prison, he was getting out of prison, and we were gonna be moving in with him. And it all happened in less than 6 months. And so it took me years to really unravel what that meant for me and how that betrayal of trust impacted my ability to develop friendships with people over the years, especially feminine energies and male energies. Betrayal usually brings shock, anger, confusion, shame, and my favorite, disgust. Baby, I'll be disgusted with people when somebody betrays me because I'm like, I would never do that to you. And the fact that you had the audacity to do it to me, oh, I'm disgusted. Baby, once I'm disgusted, you're gone. I don't need you in my space, you can go. So, because betrayal brings up those emotions and those feelings, you have to put a feeling and put some words to that emotion, right? So how do you feel? Okay, this hurt me. I didn't deserve that. I'm allowed to be angry. And I'm grieving what I thought was real, right? So at that point, I'm grieving the loss of a family because, you know, technically they're not my like blood relatives or so on and so forth. But I digress on that. Like, they're still my family to this day, so we can just nip that in the bud. 2, I would say you need to stop rereading the story to try to make sense of it. Oftentimes, I always hear, like, I've had a client just this past week. They were like, I need to understand why they did this. I need to make sense of it. I need to understand how I missed this. I need to understand if this was my fault or not. I need to understand why would they do that. The why does not matter. It doesn't matter. It's the action, right? Your brain is gonna keep replaying it. Your brain is gonna keep saying, how did I miss the signs? Was it my fault? Why would they do that? That's normal. But you have to stop rereading that story. You have to stop playing it over and over and over in your mind. Betrayal isn't always logical. Like the betrayal that I experienced from my ex-husband, there was no logic behind it. That was pure mental illness, okay? And sometimes it's just someone choosing themselves over your safety. And in his case, he chose himself over my emotional safety, my physical safety, and a number of different things, but we're gonna get into that later, y'all. That is a doozy, okay? I think instead of asking ourselves, like, was it my fault and why did this happen? You have to ask yourself, what did this teach me, right? What did this teach me? and about myself. And what did this teach me about what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate? Baby, I'm not tolerating anything no more. My tolerance, non-existent. As soon as I see a red flag, gone. You gotta go. Don't come over here asking me for nothing. Don't come over here breathing by me either. And I let people know my boundaries are firm, okay? Firm. Now, I touched on the betrayal that I experienced, from my mom, and then the betrayal from my ex-husband, but I'm gonna touch a little bit on how I was able to not internalize that, right? Just because you did this to me, it doesn't dictate my worth. It doesn't determine who I am. It doesn't, your behavior is not a reflection of me. Your behavior is a reflection of your unhealed and unhinged ass. It's not a reflection of me. What you did to me really has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you, right? So we need to make sure that we understand that betrayal does make people feel like I'm not enough, right? It makes you feel like, damn, I was so stupid for trusting him. I remember when everything went down with my ex-husband, I was like, how did I not see? You know what I mean? But then I was like, no, actually, you were wearing a mask. And of course I wouldn't see it because you wore the mask very well. You know what I mean? And so then I stopped feeling sorry for myself, and I stopped feeling upset with myself, and realized it really had nothing to do with me. It was really him. And just because he betrayed me so deeply, it wasn't proof that I was unworthy. You know what I mean? In fact, it was the opposite. And it was proof that he was willing to cross a line that he couldn't get back around. You know what I mean? It was proof of his unworthiness, not mine. And like I said, y'all, we're going to get into it. As time goes on, I'll start sharing a little bit more about how deep the betrayal went, because there was an entire group of people involved in this betrayal. And I will start saying names too, but I'm not going to be petty, okay? I'm not going to be petty LaBelle today. Maybe tomorrow. Anyhow, what I had to do was create distance. This is step 4. Create distance from the source of the wound, right? So I left home when I was 16 years old. I found out about the betrayal with my mom when I was 12. But me and my mom's relationship there's a very tumultuous relationship there, right? Being the oldest black daughter in a family, you know what I mean? Where my mom, she didn't go to therapy. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so there was a lot of stuff going on with me and my mama. And so I separated myself from her by the time I was 16 years old. The challenge in separating myself from my ex-husband is that we have a child together. So as much as I try to separate myself from him, I'm going to have to see him almost weekly because we have to exchange our child at some point. But luckily, the pickups and drop-offs are done at school. So I don't have to see him as often as he probably would like me to see him. Okay, and then you have to remember, when you're trying to create a distance from the source of the wound, you have to understand that you cannot heal in the same place that hurt you. I just moved to a whole new apartment in a whole new city because I couldn't fully heal in the place that hurt me. And like I said, when it came to the betrayal with my husband, there was an entire group of people involved in that betrayal. And once in a blue moon, I would have to run into these motherfuckers. And I'm like, I can't be around this energy. I need something fresh. I need something new in order for me to fully heal. And that's what I did, right? I moved away. And so sometimes that means going no contact. Like for me, my ex-husband, he cannot have my number. He cannot have direct access to me at all. We communicate via email. Once in a blue moon, I might unblock you so you can talk to your child, but sir, please don't ask me for my number, okay? You do not need direct access to me. And then I would say blocking, muting, and not asking people for updates. Like, I personally don't care what anybody is doing. Anybody who hurt me or betrayed me, I don't care what you're doing. I'm not asking about you. You're blocked. I don't see you. I hope you don't see me. And I just move on with my life, essentially. Even if it's just temporary distance, I feel like that really helps your nervous system reset. That's something that we need to also talk about. We'll get to that in the narcissistic, how to heal from narcissistic abuse, because narcissistic abuse damages your entire nervous system. It destroys your nervous system, and you literally have to rebuild it from the ground up, literally brick by brick. All right, 5, get clear on exactly what the betrayal was, right? Because when you get clear on what the betrayal was exactly, it helps you to not feel so crazy, right? When you pinpoint exactly what happened, then it makes you understand the severity of it, right? So you got to ask yourself, did they betray my trust? Did they betray my loyalty? Did they betray my money, my body, my privacy, my time, my reputation? Baby, my ex-husband, he betrayed all of that. The whole list. The whole, you heard that whole list? He betrayed all of that, okay? Shame on him. And then once you name all of that, that's when you give yourself your power back, right? Because it's like, I know that I've been betrayed in these ways, and I'm not crazy about that. And I'm not gonna bend on that. And my feelings are valid, and my feelings matter, and my pain matters, and you can get the fuck on, right? So you have to make sure that you are naming exactly what the betrayal was. This makes it also easier for you to keep those boundaries firm, right? Because sometimes, like I said, I'm an empath. So if you're an empath, you start feeling guilty, you start feeling sorry for people and want to help people and so on and so forth. The boundaries are up. I understand where I was betrayed, and I'm not budging on that, okay? All right, step 6, rebuilding self-trust. This is a really big one, y'all, because when you are betrayed, it makes you doubt yourself, and you start to question everyone who comes in your vicinity, right? You're like, I can't trust you, I can't trust you. But it's really yourself that you're struggling to trust, right? Like, can I trust myself to be able to practice discernment, to be able to use my best judgment, to be able to determine, are you good or not? You know what I mean? There were so many times where I went against my intuition. And, you know, listen, when you go against your intuition, God has a funny way of letting you know you shouldn't have did that, right? I had one friend, something told me that something was just a little off about her. And, but you know, as an empath, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. You want to try to be there for people, right? And it turns out that she was literally a covert narcissist. As time went on, I was like, yeah, I knew something was off. I should have just stuck to that. You know what I mean? And I should have cut you off when I had the opportunity. But, you know, I wanted to just, you know how us empaths are, y'all. It ain't on us and in us. It's in us. We can't help it. So you need to keep promises to yourself when you're trying to rebuild self-trust, right? Keep promises to yourself. If you told your ass that you was going to set these boundaries, you better stand 10 toes down on those boundaries, okay? Don't budge. I got people who betrayed me years ago that I just saw not too long ago, and they, hey, Yanni, what's up? I still don't fuck with you. You get what I'm saying? The boundaries are still up. And then you have to listen to your gut. Your intuition is that gut feeling that you get within. If something feels off, baby, I promise you it is. Do not question it, okay? All right, then you need to stop explaining to yourself, stop explaining yourself to people who don't respect you. Like, when there is somebody who is hell-bent on trying to paint you out to be the villain or trying to disrespect you, someone who's betrayed your trust, your loyalty, your money, your time, your privacy, so on and so forth, don't explain yourself to them. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to explain yourself to them, okay? And then you need to just practice saying no without any guilt. A lot of people will be asking no. And I can say it with a straight face now. I used to struggle with saying no because you don't want people to be upset. You don't want people to feel a type of way. You don't want to be perceived as a bitch. Baby, I will be the biggest bitch on the planet now. I never give a fuck. Okay, like, you have to be able to stand up for yourself and say no. And remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to give a reason why. Like, I had a girl, did you want to collaborate? I want to collaborate with you. No. No, thank you. It's like she was waiting for the why. No. You get what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to explain that. No is a complete sentence. All right. Also, what does self-trust sound like? It sounds like this. Even if someone lies to me again, I will protect myself sooner. Right? Because you can't control people. Sometimes people are shady as, okay? You can't control that. You just need to practice discernment and use your best judgment. And so even if somebody does lie to you, and you know that they're lying, and you know that your trust has been betrayed, you need to protect yourself sooner. Start setting boundaries for yourself. Remove yourself. Distance yourself from the source, okay? Okay, step 7. All right, you need to release the fantasy version of them. And this is the hard part. This is the hard part because, like I said, I've been betrayed by friends, family, partner, so on and so forth. And so the experience in that first betrayal with my mom, it's like, well, this is my mommy. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to make peace with that. Like, I had to mourn the loss of my mom. I had to mourn the person that I thought she was versus the person she actually was. I had to mourn that. And I had to mourn the relationship that I wanted to have with my mom, right? And I think I get to kind of like heal my inner child in a sense now that I have a daughter and I'm like being the mom that I always needed for myself. I think that I'm kind of healing that aspect of it. But this part is the most brutal, right? Because let's just say your husband betrayed you or your baby daddy or, you know, baby mama or so on and so forth. It's very difficult to release that fantasy version of them. Like, the last thing that I wanted to do was separate the household, you know what I mean, and have my daughter go from home to home, you know what I mean? And it's like, I wanted to have that nuclear household for her. But it's like, if the father is toxic and abusive, if 1 + 1 is 2, you know what I mean? Like, I had to let that go, right? So I had to release the fantasy version of the man that I wanted him to be, that I thought he had the potential to be. This time, y'all, I'm not looking for potential. You need to come fully potential or gone. Get out my face, okay? Okay. Step 8. Oh, and I've already touched on this before. Forgiveness is optional. Everybody always says, you have to forgive for yourself. Forgiveness is for yourself. No, it's not. Forgiveness is not a prerequisite for healing. There are actually some things that are not forgivable. You understand what I'm saying? There are some things that are not forgivable. You do not have to forgive anybody in order for you to heal. Forgiveness is not a prerequisite for healing, okay? It is not. Forgiveness is optional, but closure is not. Closure is not optional, all right? Closure is required, but on your end. You may not necessarily get the closure from them. You need to figure out a way to get the closure for yourself, right? And so what does that look like? It looks like you needing to accept what happened. Accept what happened to you. You need to accept that it changed you in some capacity. Like me, y'all, oh my God, I used to be the sweetest. And I'm still a sweetheart because I don't think it's changed me to the point where I'm just like brutal to everybody. But it's like now my boundaries are so much more firm, like firmer, I guess, you know, firmer, however you say it. And I'm not as trusting. Me, I was such a, like, I would never do people like this. So why would they do that to me? You know, just you know what I mean? And it's like, now it's like, motherfuckers be shady, unhealed, and unhinged. And so I have a clear sense of that. And not only that, I also know how to spot it out, right? I know how to spot it out. You can always tell how someone is by the way that they treat you. So keep that in mind, y'all. Closure is really when you stop needing them to be different and you just accept them for who you are and accept them for who they are and who they're not. I just accepted who he is. That's why I don't deal with him too much. If I ain't got to talk to you, baby, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want no parts of you. You disgust me to the core. You understand? So keep that in mind. Forgiveness is optional, but closure is not. And you get closure for yourself. Now, some of y'all don't be going to your ex talking about, but I just need closure. No, you need to close the door yourself. You understand? You understand. Okay. Step 9, you need to watch for trauma symptoms, right? So betrayal trauma is a thing. So you need to watch out for betrayal trauma symptoms. So what does that look like? Betrayal causes hypervigilance. So when I first realized everything that my ex-husband done behind my back, and we'll get to that later on, I was always suspicious of everybody. I was very paranoid. I remember I traveled back home to the Bay Area, California, and I couldn't even be around people. I was so paranoid because I'm like, I can't trust anybody. When you have experienced the level of betrayal that I experienced with my ex-husband and the invasion of privacy and we won't even get into how deep it goes. We'll get to that later, y'all. It creates a lot of intrusive thoughts and anxiety, and I couldn't sleep and I could barely eat. And then there was also like this emotional numbness, right? Where it's like you feel nothing. right? And I was just becoming obsessed with the details of everything that he did and wanted to know who, how, when, what, you know what I mean? All of that didn't matter, you know what I mean? What mattered is you betrayed me and now you can get the fuck on, right? So you need to make sure you're paying attention to betrayal trauma symptoms because those are very, very real. Okay, step 10. Oh, also, if you are experiencing betrayal trauma symptoms, it does not mean that you are broken. It is just your nervous system and your body trying to protect you, and that is perfectly okay. All right, last step, step 10. You need to replace the question, why me, with what now? Every time I experienced some type of betrayal, I was like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? No. You need to stop thinking, why me, and start thinking, what do I do now? What now, right? That's when your power comes back, y'all. When you stop victimizing yourself and you stop saying, oh my God, like everybody just does this to me, and you actually start recognizing patterns in which you can address on your own, that's when you take your power back, right? So you say, what now? And what happened from there, right? What are your new boundaries gonna be? What won't you accept again? And moving forward, how do you want to love and accept yourself, right? All right, so those are the 10 steps that I have for you on how to heal from betrayal. And I want y'all to, if you take anything away from this, take this. I don't chase people who choose to lose me, right? I read that somewhere. But it says, I don't chase people who choose to lose me. So if someone has betrayed you, they made a choice to lose you, and it is their loss, not yours. Mwah.